Welcome to the Show Me the Way podcast. I'm your host, Andrea Miller, and I'm so excited to bring this show to you. Show Me the Way is a podcast dedicated to exploring the journeys of those who have faced adversity and found themselves on unexpected paths. We will have meaningful, thoughtful conversations about challenges we have faced and how we discovered and forged new direction. Prepare to be inspired and to uncover your own strength as you listen to relatable and motivating stories. Life has a way of twisting and turning, and we often need a fresh perspective to understand how to navigate. Let's show each other the way. This week on the Show Me the Way podcast, I have the absolute honor of interviewing one of my closest friends, Alicia Schweizer. Alicia is truly my sister from another mister, my constant supporter, my sounding board, and the person who always shows up for me without hesitation. She's the kind of friend who will drop anything to listen, praise, send encouragement, or simply hold space. I've wanted her on the show since day one because I knew her story mattered. I knew her perspective would touch people, remind them they aren't alone, and offer hope in the hardest seasons. Alicia is a boy mom of 3, 2 older teens, and a 10-year-old she lovingly describes as medically complex. In this episode, she opens up about the journey her family has navigated with her youngest son, with the many twists, turns, and surprises along the way. Her story is full of resilience, faith, and courage. There is so much we can learn from Alicia about perseverance, advocacy, and never giving up. I cannot wait for you to hear her heart and her wisdom. Welcome back to the Show Me the Way podcast. I am beyond ecstatic that a miracle happened for me today. I always say on this podcast, when I have guests, it's God's timing. And God gave me some good timing today. One of my dearest friends, one of my biggest supporters, somebody that has heard everything about my idea with this podcast, how I wanted to get it started. She's heard me talk about my experiences with all of the guests. I don't think there's anything she doesn't know about me. We leave voice memos for one another every single day. She is the busiest super mom I have ever met. And I just kept saying to myself, she is not going to be a guest, even though she would be a perfect guest. It's never going to work out. Well, today, God said, let's make it happen. And I took advantage of her little window. And I'm really ecstatic to bring on one of my closest friends, Alicia Schweizer. I've known Alicia for quite some time. I feel like we've known each other forever. The way that we talk, it's like we were sisters from other misters. The way that we met was her husband actually worked with my husband. And for the longest time, I knew who he was, but just had never got the opportunity to meet her. We tease her husband because we think he kept us away from each other because he knew the second we met, we would never be able to get enough of one another. And he was spot on with that. But thank God I met her. And she's just one of those amazing people that is always there for you no matter what her day looks like. She is a mother of 3. She has 15 different jobs. She wears all kinds of different hats. I don't know how she functions. Sometimes I tell her she is not a real person. She's a robot because the things that she does, it just amazes me, all of the stuff that she's able to pack into her day and her weeks. And she's still everything to her kids. She still decorates for them for their birthday. She still bakes whatever they want her to bake. She still goes to every sports game. She entertains their friends amidst everything else that she's got going on. She's been a real estate client. She's just been a great support to me and everything that I've done. So I'm so excited that we're going to squeeze in a little interview with her today. I know she's got a lot to share with all of us. We're going to learn from her. We're going to get perspective. We're going to hear, I'm sure, her thoughts on faith. And I just can't wait to hear what she's going to share with us. And I can't wait to put this interview out. She has been on my list since day one. So welcome to the show, Alicia.
Well, hi. Thank you so much for having me. It is an honor to be here. And all of your sweet words, oh my goodness. I don't even know if to do that.
Well, you know we love on one another all the time, so it's easy to do.
I feel honored to be here and speak on a whim. My morning opened up and we're like, let's do this. So Here we are.
Yeah. So thank you. And many of you, if you've been following, you heard from one of her close friends, Candace Genovich, I don't know, it was like a month ago. And we talked about Alicia throughout that podcast. And I just kept saying, I want her to be on the show. And today she's here. Very excited that you're here. I said a lot about how we know each other and my thoughts on you. But if there's anything else you want to share about you, where you come from, where you live, that kind of thing, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So I am a boy mom of 3. I have 2 teenagers and 1 10-year-old. My 17-year-old, he's just a sweet boy. He made me a mom. He gave me that purpose in life, and I'm just really proud of him. He's got a lot going on, but all positive things. And then I have Jake. He's 15. He's all about sports, football, high school football, just living his best life. They're both really good, easy kids, thankfully, because then I have my 10-year-old. And we'll get to him. He is my medically complex child, and that would be my discussion of adversity here. He is sweet. He is full of life. He lives his best life every day, despite what he goes through. And honestly, he inspires me every single day. How he just shows up. And I think because of what he's been through, also my older boys have seen life through a different lens. And I think that they just see things differently as well. And that's just one of those little pieces of finding the beauty in something that's rough, you know. And then I am married. I have my husband who's been very supportive throughout everything, through parenthood, through medical life, through just the ups, the downs, the fun, the bad, the sad, all of it. He's been my rock, and I would probably not be sane if he wasn't as supportive. So very grateful for my family. But yeah, I do have a lot of jobs. I don't know where to begin on that,
Yeah, I
but
was gonna say, I told everybody you wore a lot of hats, so why don't we list the things that you do?
well, now I decided for my midlife crisis to go back to school. So I'm back in school for my RN. I currently am, well, I am certified in nutrition and personal trainer. I'm very much into really helping women take care of themselves and, mentally, physically, spiritually to get through these tough times. And by doing that, it just really made me want to do more and go back to school and to be able to provide more. And it's a passion. So that's my main purpose of going back to school right now. But I also work in the school district, and I'm working in the clinics right now. I've subbed for a few years, several years actually. And I really love being in the school and with kids. They are just so much joy and fun to be around. So I'm doing that. And I was a hairstylist for a long time, a very long time, which I love that chapter and that journey as well. So right now I am just doing all kinds of things, and here and there I still work with a nonprofit for one of the medical conditions that my son has. So I try to do that when I can, and that comes in seasons of life where I have time and I don't. But I definitely found purpose through the storms by giving back and connecting with the nonprofit. So those are all the things I think right now.
Yes, and like I said, Alicia has also been a real estate client, so she lives in Michigan like I do, and we don't really live that far from one another, but we mainly just communicate over voice memos. She's
Yeah.
very busy, very, very busy, but she seems to do it with grace and joy and a smile on her face. I rarely hear her complain about the stuff that she has going on. I mean, sometimes she'll be frustrated with outside forces, too much traffic and all of her driving and that kind of thing. But usually she's like, well, this is what I want to do. And I'm just going to keep moving forward however I can. Lack of sleep, but lots of caffeine and whatever energy drink she can get, which is usually a natural choice, a healthy
Yes,
choice.
put that in
But
there.
but yeah, she talks about wanting other women to take care of themselves, other people to take care of themselves. And sometimes I'll worry about that because when you do too much, you may let your health go. But she's always very concerned about herself and making sure she's at her best, even if that is on 3 hours of sleep. So it is pretty amazing to have a friend like her. I'm very excited to hear the things that she's going to share. And yes, I started the Show Me the Way podcast, many of you know, because my younger son, who Alicia knows really well, she used to cut his hair. He has Duchenne muscular dystrophy. I've shared this on almost all of my episodes. That's the reason that I started this. I wanted to share his story. He was diagnosed when he was 5. Now he is 16. So following along that journey, he has just like Alicia's younger son has done for her. He has taught me so much. He's given me perspective. He's really showed me that life is short and you've got to just take advantage of an hour with your friend when you can. And I really wanted to be able to share the story. And since then, we've had all kinds of great stories. Some are about medical issues, some are just changes in general. But I think every single person that is listening can say, gosh, you're right. I thought my path was going to look like this. And for some reason or another, it had to change. And I know Alicia can relate. That's probably another reason she and I get along so well. We both have children with medical complex cases. They're different, extremely different, and very different children. But on the other hand, there are a lot of things that are similar, and both of them are very strong-willed children. We could say
Mhm.
stubborn, but we'll try to make it, more
Well,
positive. Both of them are like that. Both of them have specific things that they want. They know what they want and they tell us. And we can relate so often just on how to parent these two. And they're 6 years apart, but there's a lot of things that we can bring up to one another. And as many of you as listeners know, it's so wonderful to be able to relate. Oh, I'm not alone. Oh, that person went through this too. So I think every one of our episodes has given at least one listener that thought. And if that is what we're doing with this, then I'm so grateful that we're into season 2 of the Show Me the Way podcast. And like I said, Alicia could have been my very first guest, but I've been waiting for the time. And then today I was like, you just got to do it. It's never going to happen if we keep talking about it. So I'm really glad that we're here. That being said, I told her not to prepare. As you know, I don't like anyone to have a script. You can speak on whatever's on your heart. I like to say whatever God is bringing to you today. I think there's always a reason we're recording when we are. So I'm going to stop talking for a minute. It's hard for me to do that, but I'm going to do that. And I want to just listen, whatever Alicia wants to share with us. I did kind of preface that maybe speaking about her younger son would help a lot of our guests, but we'll see which direction she goes. So, Alicia, I'm going to be quiet and give you the mic.
yeah, okay. Oh boy, where do I begin? I think you brought up a really good point. It's just finding somebody to relate to when you're going through these things. It's just so important. And those of us with medically complex kids or having this big diagnosis day of something that just throws you like everything's fine, everything is great, easy. Let's have one more child. And then all of a sudden you're just dealt with these things you could never imagine facing. And as you go through it, people say, I don't know how you do it. I could never do it. But when you're dealt with it, you just do it and you handle it and you pray for the strength that you need and you somehow get there and you end up building a community and realizing who your community is along the way. And there's so much to be said about finding that support and just growing in this journey. So, for anybody listening who maybe is in similar shoes or just got diagnosed with something surprising, or their child got diagnosed with something surprising and it's just life altering, just know that there is hope and to hold on to that because it may not get easier, but it does get better. And I can say with Nico, when he was born, he seemed great. He seemed fine. Nothing was wrong until we got home. And a few days later, we realized, okay, something is not right. To sum this up in a short time span, he just had a lot of unknown digestive issues. We really couldn't figure them out. He wasn't able to even tolerate prescription formula or breast milk, nothing. His body just rejected everything. So fast forward, now he's 1. Now he has a horrible immune system, pretty much immunocompromised, severe reactions to vaccines. Now we're developing seizure disorders. We're on a feeding tube, lots of hospitalizations, and zero answers, really. And that is the most difficult part, I think, is going through this. It's almost like if you have an answer, then you can figure out what you need to do with that, whatever that is. But when you don't have answers, you're just floating in this air, just waiting for a direction. And that's hard. And it's hard for your family. It's hard for you as a parent. So much changes when you're in that phase of life. And as you go through it, I think that educating yourself on anything you can is so important because if you can learn about whatever that is, you're able to advocate, for your child and for yourself and for your family and their needs. and be able to recognize where you need help and where you're struggling and all of those things. So, um, I think that's really important. Also, I think one thing that I really recommend, speaking about educating yourself, that definitely changed our lives was I remember at this point we had been in the hospital for literally like a year straight solid. I mean, maybe we're home for 3 days, in the hospital for 2 weeks, home for a day, back for 2 weeks. Like it was rough. And finally, I think we were in a stable enough condition to just be home. And I think Nico was like 18 months. And we were kind of just hoping that we were on some sort of new path. And little did we know it was nowhere near the end. But I saw, I started searching on Facebook for groups and support groups. I just needed to find something out there. And I found a group for one of his diagnoses that we knew he for sure had, which was one of the many things, but it's called FPIES, food protein induced enterocolitis syndrome. And it's rare, and there has not been much research on it at this time. There hadn't been. So I I saw that there was a medical conference in Chicago. We live in Michigan, so it seems so far away, but so close. And it was for providers and parents. And I thought, like, this is something rare. This is something that most of the doctors don't know anything about. How are we supposed to know and learn when nobody knows much right now? And so I felt this strong nudge to go, but I didn't know how. I had no idea how. And I'll never forget, like, just, I don't know, did we tell maybe my mother in law? We had to have told somebody in our family because somehow we got this knock on our door one day, and it was a cousin with an envelope, and she ran away, handed it to me and ran away. And it was the sweetest letter with all this money in it. And it said, we want to support you. You guys are going to Chicago. Take this and go to the conference. And I couldn't believe that. And then we found out, like, my mother-in-law and my sister stepped up to watch the kids and handle Nico, even though he had a feeding tube and we didn't know what to do with that. And but they were there to learn. And then we got to Chicago, and his his aunts had booked us a really nice hotel room, and we got to go to this conference. By the grace of God, we got there. And by the grace of God, Nico held it together until we got back. Just long enough for us to go for the weekend, but we did learn so much in that weekend. And we met parents that, for once, understood what we were going through and could relate in every way, from the worry, from being exhausted, for relatable to the parent guilt of not being there for your other children, which is really hard, really, really hard sometimes. And that alone was everything, just making these connections. But we learned about the FPIES diagnosis. We learned about the research that was involved. We learned about how important funds were and how close they were. And I remember driving home and just telling my husband, like, I want to help. Like, if there's something we can do to turn this around, I want to do something positive with it. And so on the way home from Chicago, I reached out, and I got on this phone call and asked, what can I do? And so we ended up joining the nonprofit and fundraising for research. And along the way, they've actually come really far. We have a lot more answers now for those kids that are diagnosed that we didn't have. And it just felt like you can't help what you're dealt with, but if you can do anything, just take that and turn it into something positive. It is the best healing, like the most healing thing you can do. And honestly, I learned that from you, Andrea, because you showed us the way. You really did when you had Nathan, and you and Ryan held just so much grace with everything that you went through. And you showed us what community meant and what coming together meant, and just that support and just that giving back and that finding a purpose. So I really think that was a nudge. It was like, okay, if she's doing this, like, maybe I can do it. It seems hard. I don't know. I don't do this stuff, but I ended up loving it and doing it for quite a while, and it definitely helped. So that is one thing that was really helpful. And we had 5K that was really big. We did a bowling event or golf event, like things that brought people together, but also people started to learn what FPIES was. And throughout this journey, I've had so many people reach out to me over the years like, "Hey, my cousin, my friend, my coworker, whoever, their child was diagnosed. Can you help them?" And that was just everything. If what we go through can help others, that is so powerful. And I feel like God has plans and we don't understand them and they don't make sense to us. But sometimes you see that light where you just know, like, this is why I was given this, because I needed to do that, or your mission here. So I try to think about that as well. Um, but it's just a lot. It's a lot. He still has a lot going on. At 10 years old, I thought maybe we'd be growing out of things, but we've only added to our list like head to toe. There's always something new. But he is resilient. He goes to school. He plays sports when he can, when he feels well. He is full of life. He is a spitfire. He probably knows more medical terminology than anybody his age, and he doesn't complain. He never complains about his weekly labs or the stuff that he goes through. He more so takes that anger and puts it into something better. He definitely lives his best life, which it can be terrifying at sometimes because he's full of energy. But yeah, it's a dynamic to get used to and to navigate, because also as parents, you think like, how do I go to work? How do I work? How do I have normalcy in my life when I have to be there for the unknown things that come up? How do I plan ahead when randomly we have hospital visits, or just days of not feeling well, or endless medical calls and endless medical paperwork and just doctor visit after doctor visit and running in circles. So that's also difficult to navigate.
You handle it with such grace, you don't even realize. I mean, even telling the story, most people wouldn't even be able to share the story the way that you have, and to jump in and help others. I mean, that's so inspirational. You also started a Facebook page. You do get down on yourself for not updating it all the time, but you you'll put big messages in there and just share with everybody, like, here's what's going on, and you're vulnerable about you and your family, and then everybody appreciates that. Okay, again, if you're going through things, don't feel alone, because here's what we're going through. And you're putting all the raw stuff out there. And I think that's important too. But let's go back. So, yes, he had F pies, and he had issues with just about any kind of food and the whole feeding tube. I mean, that was a lot. And I know that it wasn't always the easiest as parents or for him to have. And then, too, you've always said, oh, my other kids. But I want to say this too. You've always been very good at, wait a minute, time out. I need to have special time with them. So I don't think there'd ever be a doubt in their mind that their parents love them as well. But yeah, I talk about my older son and how difficult it is to be a sibling when you've got a brother or sister with special needs, or needs that need more attention than yours do. It's got to be difficult. But your older boys are just amazing kids as well. So you and your husband have done something right for sure with them, because they've gotten through all of this with you. But you keep saying medically complex, and I know this, but our listeners don't know that he's got a lot of other things going on. So how old was he when you would say, okay, he can eat a lot more, and he can finally kind of step away from all of the drastic issues that he dealt with as a 1-year-old?
I would think that he was about 5. It actually He had a feeding tube from 1 to 4-ish. And then all of a sudden, I think he just kind of grew out of some things. It wasn't easy. It wasn't like he could all of a sudden eat a ton of food. Actually, he kept ripping his feeding tube out, and it was so many times that it was going to involve a major surgery again at this point. And he had just enough foods along with prescription formula at 4 years old to say, well, if we're going to do the surgery, we should give him a chance and see if he can sustain and grow. He was failure to thrive, and that's why he needed that. And it was hard and it was scary. And I mean, we were counting ounces and counting his input and output. What is he eating and drinking? How many times has he went to the bathroom? Every ounce counted, and it was so stressful. But not putting him through that surgery was also like the power that kept us going through it. But he made it. He made it some way, somehow, just in time to go to kindergarten, eating enough foods. I'll never forget, like, I had to pack him a lunch, and it was so hard to pack him a lunch that had food in it. How did we get enough foods to make a lunch? It didn't look like everybody else's, but he didn't care. Like, he just was so happy to be like any other kid. So happy to have a lunchbox and bring whatever the random foods that he had. I mean, he was still on like mango stage 1 puree baby food in a pouch with crackers and then his like Neocate juice box that had whatever he needed in it. And it was weird lunch, but he did it. And now he is 10 years old and he is eating a lot of food. I mean, mostly everything. We still think a lot. Doesn't love him, but he could care less. And so he's thriving in that sense. There are a lot of delays for a child that is in the hospital all the time, and that is really difficult. I mean, they miss out. We couldn't go to the park ever. We couldn't go to Christmas or Easter with our family. We couldn't go to birthday parties because he was so compromised all the time. We missed so many normal childhood things. And to sit in a hospital room all the time, I mean, we were living in Ronald McDonald House for months for like that is the life. So to throw him all of a sudden in school, it just was a lot. And there's a lot of things that and now that he's older, I really haven't talked about because I also want him to be known for, I want Nico to be known for Nico, not to be defined by all the things that he has. But sometimes that's really hard when people don't know because they might judge or they might think things. And so at 4.5, he was, or 4, I think, right when he turned 4, he was diagnosed with autism. But he just was super delayed in everything. And they said he could just be very delayed from medical life, or it might truly be rooted autism, but only time will tell. And again, that's hard. It's a gray area. So how do you go about that? How do you treat behavioral issues? How much do you push academically without feeling like it's too much or unrealistic? It's just been really hard socially, very much socially over the years. And he meets friends and peers at school, but they have no clue what he's been through. And he wants so badly to relate to them. And he doesn't, I mean, sometimes he'll advocate for himself, but like he'll never tell them all of that either. So it's hard to find that balance, but we've been so grateful to find really, really, really good friends for our family and for Nico. And they have all been such blessings. I don't think we could get through any of it without them. Like, they don't have to know exactly why he's missed school, but they show up at our door the minute they know that he's back home. And they find these little ways to let us know we're not alone and we can count on them just one call away, whatever it is. So that is so important. And it's not necessarily the quantity, it's the quality of those friendships that mean everything. And being vulnerable, like that, I really don't talk about these things much. Even like my coworkers, they probably don't know any of this stuff about me. It's like you never know what somebody is going through or what they carry and the depth of it and how that affects their family dynamic or their world or how they show up each and every day.
That's very true. That's very true. And I think that's another reason to do this podcast is so that people understand that. And I appreciate the guests that are vulnerable. Or you saying, I don't talk about this stuff much, but here we go. I appreciate it because again, I just think there's people out there that will like the vulnerability and like the rawness and say, gosh, I've been through similar things.
Mhm.
So yeah. And I think too, you said at the beginning with my son and Duchenne, it's rare, but it's common of the rare. You hear about it and then all of a sudden people are like, "Oh, I know so and so that has Duchenne. Oh, I've heard of Duchenne. Oh, my uncle had Duchenne." Like all of these different things. And you start to understand that wow, it's more out there than I realized and there are standards of care. So that is one area that Alicia and I have really differed with our medically complex children because My husband and I were able to say, okay, he's going to get on this medication. At this age, this is probably going to happen. At this age, this is probably going to happen. So steps have been put in place, of people have gone through already, and we're following that. It's very, very similar. Each child with Duchenne is different. They all have their own unique things going on, but overall there's a standard of care. And with Alicia, it's like, okay, F pies, we don't know much about it. I don't know. Here's some food you can try. There's some lab tests. There's some doctors that know things. There's some doctors that don't. There's some that are more open to trying things out. There's some that aren't. There's different thought processes. I've always told Alicia from day one, go with your gut, because she knows so much, and the things that she's been able to educate others and even doctors on is amazing. It's no surprise to me that she continued on to become a nurse, because she's very interested in this whole medical field, and she understands a lot of it. Life has a funny way of reminding us that we can't plan for everything, but we can prepare for what matters most. That's why I'm so thankful for today's sponsor, Tammy Brown Insurance Agency. Tammy and her team don't just sell policies, they build relationships. Whether you're protecting your home, your car, or your family's future, Tammy takes the time to really listen and find coverage that fits your life. As a mom, a homeowner, and a Michigander, I love knowing that I've got someone local in my corner who actually cares, not just about my insurance, but about my peace of mind. So if you've been putting off checking your coverage, take this as your sign. Call Tammy Brown Insurance Agency or visit the Tammy Brown Agency Facebook page and tell them the Show Me the Way podcast sent you. Because when life takes a turn, it helps to have someone who can show you the way back to security. What our listeners don't know is that, yes, you received a couple of these diagnoses, but there's also more things that continue to go on. So, what is life like today now that he's 10?
Well, it's still going on where it's it's the diagnosis day. I feel like it's like Groundhog's Day. Just when you think things are getting better and we're getting into normalcy, and maybe we are moving on from the worst. And then all of a sudden it's back and it's something crazy off the wall that you would never expect. Like just this last spring, we were checking his routine labs for inflammation levels, and like sometimes his legs, we really don't have a diagnosis for it, but it's been his whole life where, I mean, even though he's so athletic and so powerful, his legs will give out and they will be really weak, and he will have a lot of pain, and he's limping, and he's missed a lot of school because of his legs. So over the years, we're trying to figure it out. We're pretty close to what we think it is. Still don't have an answer exactly. So that's hard because when he goes through this, it affects everything, his quality of life and just his happiness. And so finding answers is a constant goal still. But also, we were checking these labs just to see, he was in a flare up, and we stumbled across his platelets. He literally had no platelets. He's never had, of all the issues, he's never had, a blood disorder. So we did not know what this meant. We just know, okay, normal levels are 150,000 to 450,000, and he has two platelets. That is it. So he was in a lot of pain during this time, and we went to the hospital, and it was really just scary because in your mind you think he already has an immune issue, and we know like that's bone marrow and all of that stuff. So we tried not to think ahead too much and just go with the flow, but he was admitted, and it was a really long month of just trying different treatments and not working. We get his platelets up to maybe halfway to normal, and then he would have such severe side effects that we would stop treatment and then he'd bottom out again. We went to IVIG infusions, which ended up helping tremendously with the platelets, but he did get a bad severe side effect that was aseptic meningitis. And just he comes home from that and then had these severe side effects for the next few days. But it ended up healing this platelet issue called ITP that he's now diagnosed with, which it can come back at any time. It can be acute or chronic. We're still learning because it's not been a whole year yet. You have to get through the first 3 months to see, is it chronic? or acute. And then if you make it the whole year, then you're kind of in the clear that maybe it was a random thing, but if it comes back again, then it's definitely something that's an issue. So we're still monitoring that. But we realized like, hey, just coincidentally, the IVIG infusion, it helped his legs tremendously. He had this beautiful summer without any issues with his legs. So we don't know what that means, but I mean, we're just trying to figure those things out. And I mean, there's a lot more. There's a lot of other random things too. Um, just had to go to see a hepatologist just recently for newer things with that. And it just never ends. And so the one thing that's kept us grounded, and Nico actually reminds us, is faith. I know I would not be getting through it without my faith, and my faith that I thought was strong, it wasn't anything what it is right now. Like I have literally feel that I have seen God move in our lives in ways that I've never experienced. I've never known. I've never felt the miracles or seen the miracles that we have seen, and you just know like there's no possible way for this to happen right now besides God, and you just count your blessings. So Nico, when he was born, we just moved to Canton, and I met a friend, Shavana, and met her at
She
preschool.
was a guest too.
I guess she was like in the
Yeah.
beginning,
Yeah, she was.
and I call her my angel friend because she she saw I had Nico pick up Jake at school, and then all of a sudden I was missing for like 2 weeks because Nico was hospitalized, and so, grandma was picking Jake up. And so when I came back with Nico, she asked where I had been, and I kind of gave her a quick lowdown. And she said, I don't know if you're into this, but I just moved here too from Georgia, and I just need community and friends. We don't have family here, but I go to this church and they have this moms group, and I'm not sure if you're into that kind of stuff, but we just have coffee and hot coffee, and we bring things to share for breakfast, like a potluck once a week, and just go over scriptures and ask how we can pray for each other. And I never had ever experienced this and never been to a Bible study. I mean, I went to church my whole life growing up, but never had been to Bible study. I didn't know what that meant. I was like a little bit, I'm not sure, but what do I have to lose? Yes, I will go. I will be there. I could use that. And I remember I brought Nico and shared our little journey. And he was supposed to go to a nursery. He was only like a month old at this point, but obviously he wasn't going anywhere. He needed to stay by me. And they let him stay. I mean, until he was like 3, he would go with me every Tuesday that we weren't in the hospital. We would be there. And they would pass around Nico so I would get this break. And it was like respite. Like I can breathe, I can drink some coffee, I can talk to other moms, women, and even though they couldn't necessarily relate, I knew that they were there to hold us up in prayer. And I learned how to pray and how to count on God for strength, and just learning scripture and things to keep me hopeful. That was everything. And of course, coincidentally, Nico's favorite song was Hallelujah. From the minute, well, the first time he got a feeding tube, he was 1, and it was actually is the NG tube. So that's the one that goes down your nose, and he had to drink his bottle while they put it in, and for distraction, and you have to drink for it to go down the right way. And so somebody sent me the Pentatonics Hallelujah YouTube song, and it was right when Pentatonics came out with their Christmas album, and I played that on repeat. It was the only way he would stop crying. And on the way home, because this is how long ago it was, I had stopped in the Target parking lot, and I asked my husband to pull up to the door. I ran into Target, I bought the CD, put it in the car like immediately, and we listened to Pentatonics Hallelujah. I kid you not, on repeat or on our TV on YouTube for months. I mean, all summer, all all fall, all winter. I mean, years actually. Until this day, if he's having a bad day, we will literally ask Siri or Alexa, play Hallelujah, and it will fix a bad day any day. And it honestly will fix any of our bad days in this house when we just hear that song. But it also reminds us that that's what we need sometimes more than anything, is just having faith. And if you're far from it or you don't know it, it's never too late to take that time and see if it's for you and what it can do for your life. And I'm so grateful for that day that Ivana asked me, not knowing if I was a faithful person or anything, and she invited me. So,
And
um,
what did Nico call her when he could talk?
Shamama. Shamama. To this day, she's Shamama. And we just adore her. And we've met this community. And still to this day, when I can, I jump into these study groups and with Lene, the leader of it all, and you, and then I invited you, and so many awesome women. And again, we don't have the same journeys, but it's just that community that we need. And it's about finding that community, how important it is, whatever that looks like. And also learning what community is not healthy for you, I think is something huge, because you can go into these support groups and all they do are post the ugly, the scary. They're not positive at all. And it just can really bring you down. So really recognizing, is that healthy for you to be a part of? You might be learning a little bit or relating, but is it healthy for you? Because if it's not doing something better for you in any way, it's just better to not be a part sometimes of those things, and finding the groups that are good for you. And also sometimes a hard part about having a child that's medically complex and the adversity is the friends that you used to see all the time and have this connection with, and all of a sudden you can't, and you feel like the bad friend because you have to say no to everything all the time. That's hard. And to have friends that just understand, like if you're gone for a whole year, but you have this random moment you can get together, they're there for it, they're grateful for it that time, and they don't question why you haven't been around. They just know, and you don't have to explain yourself, and you don't have to feel bad. That is so important, because it can make you just feel, you know, disconnected if you keep trying to compare your life to what it was before and trying to show up when it's not realistic.
Yeah, I think that's a great point and a good thing to bring up. When my husband and I first received our son's diagnosis, that was kind of the case. And you know this, you've heard the good, the bad, and the ugly with us. But we jumped right in and tried to connect with every Duchenne family and community that we could. And at first, it was great. I don't know what we would have done. Like you called Shavana an angel. We had several people like that,
Mhm.
angels in our lives that God brought to us at that moment and helped us with things that we had no idea how to navigate. And it was amazing and great. And I learned how to advocate. I even got to go to Washington, D.C. and be part of big advocacy groups and seminars and discussions. I was there when FDA was working to approve a big drug that was going to make a big difference for many people in the Duchenne community. So I was involved in a lot of it, a lot of nonprofit connected, saw people on social media all the time. And after a while, it just became too much. And it was something that I needed to slowly step away from. And some people I'm still connected to, and I'm so grateful for that. But sometimes you'll meet someone, and it's like, just because our children have the same diagnosis doesn't mean we're supposed to be these best friends. You can't
Right.
force something if you're not the right connection. And we had someone very early on tell us that, like, find your people. So I really appreciate you saying all that. And again, you probably know because I tell you everything, but I'm really trying to make season 2 more about community and village and who you reach out to. And most of my guests just start talking about that without even being prompted. Most of them did that last year. And you've said it many times. I wrote some notes about it, how important the community is, and at the right time and the right people, and knowing who are the people you need to surround yourself with, and who maybe you did for a minute, but you don't need to anymore.
Yeah, I love that. And I think it is like finding positive people. It's like you have this choice to wake up each day and start over, start fresh. You can go through something and feel, but life is what you want it to be. And surrounding yourself with positive lights just gives you that motivation and inspiration to look at life in a more positive way, no matter what it is you're going through. And I love that you brought up the Washington piece, because I remember that. And that's so huge when you can say that you went and did such a
Hmm.
big movement with your journey. and advocating is everything too. I don't remember how long ago it was, but maybe Nico was like 3. And I will have to say, Jake, my middle one, had FPIES, but he was diagnosed at 3 years old and he was starting to grow out of it. And when they diagnosed him, they had no idea really what it was. They just said a lot of kids grow out of it by 3. That's the magic number. And thankfully, he was your typical child, and we really didn't have to do much with that. But we were on prescription formula with him till he was like 2.5. Nico was on prescription formula till he was like 6. We stopped that probably around 6 because they also have prescription formula juice boxes. So it's like a little more undercover. But insurance did not cover it at all when we had Jake. And the only reason we got it covered for Nico is because we had to give it through a feeding tube. If we gave him it in a bottle, like orally, like we did Jake, it would not have been covered. And let me tell you, one tiny little can was like $40 for the teeny tiny can. I think I remember just for 1 month, it was like $1,100 was our formula expense. And that is insane, especially when you have a sick child and more than likely one of the parents are not working. It's impossible. Like that is just absolutely insane. They were doing something in Lansing about just advocating for prescription formula to be covered by insurance. And I remember writing this big long story, and they read it at one of the meetings. And after a few weeks, they posted that they were able to have it covered by insurance in a lot of states, and one of them being Michigan. So I was so excited about that, and like, okay, that's what we had to do with that journey. Like,
Right.
it's
You are a
so
big part of
important,
that.
so important, and share your story and sharing it with the right people and at the right time. And why would that matter? Why is it covered only if they have a feeding tube and not any other way? It's ridiculous because at the end of the day, kids are on this formula cannot sustain life without it. If they didn't have that formula, then they would probably need a feeding tube. It made no sense. So taking action is definitely therapeutic too. Just take
Yeah, yeah,
action.
for
And
sure. And you
you
made me want to give credit to, I wouldn't have been able to do any of those things, or I wouldn't have learned as much if it wasn't for Marisa Penrod, who runs Team Joseph, which is a local nonprofit that just has done amazing things. And her son is Joseph, and he has Duchenne muscular dystrophy as well. He's in his 20s. He's thriving. He went to college. We used to know every little detail of his life, but it's been a long time since we have had major communications. But just having people like that paving the way, it really helps you. And she was the reason I got to experience so much. So I give all that credit back to her. It was awesome. And when many of you listeners know, I've talked about Nathan's Ninjas, which is a nonprofit that my husband and I started on our own to mainly support Nathan, to allow our friends and family to give to him. They were very concerned. What can we do for him? What can we do for him? To Alicia's point, a lot of medications and a lot of the equipment he needs, it's very, very expensive. So it's been great to give them an avenue. Before we started Nathan's Ninjas, we would tell our family and friends to donate to Team Joseph. So it was a great thing to do at the time when Nathan didn't have as many needs as he has now, and before we started our own nonprofit. So I definitely want to call out that awesome charity and what Marisa did to pave the way for so many. And you also made me think of my previous guest, Jen Shumsky is another Duchenne mom. She is an advocate. She has helped so many people. She has a nursing background. So Alicia knows I have a sister that has a nursing background. When I'm around these people that are nurses, like it's just such a great field. And God bless all of the people that go into nursing, because there's so many avenues and so many different paths that we need them on. And so she has helped people with insurance issues. She took what she knows about medical world, what she knows about Duchenne, and she now continues to advise and counsel people with insurance issues and things like that. But she said, which I wrote down because I think it goes along with what you're saying, during her interview, she said Duchenne is the least interesting thing about her child. He is a genius. He goes to college. He has so many other things. I remember when he was younger, I visited their house and he had like these very complex Lego statues up throughout his room. So there's so many things that he is besides Duchenne. And getting back to Nico, there's so many things that he is besides medically complex.
Yes, I love that. And I think that people like Marisa and your other guests are rippling effects in the community, whether it's the medical community or just in their community in general. Like watching this nonprofit that you were a part of was so inspiring to our family that had nothing to do with Duchenne, but just in general to watching what you can do with that and how you can help others and the resources that are out there for people and that you can share with others and just bringing people together. And it's so beautiful when you get to one of your events, Andrea, and you look around and there are so many people, like hundreds of people in this community showing up for one cause. And it's just amazing. But also, you're absolutely right. Our kids are not defined at all by their diagnosis. It is what it is. Outside of that, it makes them who they are. And they would not be the children that they are if they didn't go through it. Their personalities are big. They are strong. They are such good little advocates for themselves. And they do so much. They are go-getters and I love that they have hobbies and they just appreciate the little things in life and make the most of it each and every day. And I think they show us so much and they can also show others their age how to get through hard days or how to without saying it, just being around them, you just feel inspired. And I hope that kids, whether they're 3, 10, 18, however old, I just hope that they know that they are so powerful mentally and their personalities shine so bright that they can do anything. They can still do anything. It will look a little different, but they've got this. They are funny because of it too.
They are. Oh, that's for
Yes,
sure.
they're unfiltered. They
I was
can
just going to ask, what do you think that Nico has taught your older boys?
um definitely compassion, resilience. You can't control what happens sometimes and you just have to roll with it and is what it is. And you may not like it, but what can you do? What can you do to keep going? And I think all older brothers of a special needs sibling, it's not easy for them. And I also think it's important for them to feel supported and for them to feel heard because so much attention naturally has to go towards their siblings. It's not a matter of want to give them more attention. They have to have that attention. They need that attention, whether it's medically, physically, emotionally. And sometimes, sadly, it can take away from the older ones. And there's nothing that you can really do about that. But just they know that they're loved and they know that they have a special place with their role of being an older brother of a special needs sibling. It's such a special and important role, and they do such good jobs. And every sibling that I've ever met that has a brother or sister with some sort of special needs, they are all such amazing kids because of it. It just they definitely see through a different lens.
Yeah, I would agree. It's a great way to describe it. Well, I definitely want to be respectful of time. I'm telling you, this miracle window, I don't know how it opened, but I'm so grateful. I know Alicia has 5 million things she needs to do the rest of her day. So I appreciate her squeezing this in. And Alicia gave us so many nuggets. Oh my gosh. Right from the very beginning, I started writing some of the great pieces of advice she gave. But I'm going to give her one more chance. Alicia, if you have one more thing you would want to say to our listeners about what you've learned through this journey, what would it be?
Oh gosh, I feel like I rambled on so
You
much.
did not. You
I
you
didn't
were
think
great.
about what to say. So thank you for all of that. I just, you know what, just keep showing up every day, no matter how hard it gets, and just keep hope and find a purpose in whatever you're going through. It can be a purpose that you're making some sort of big movement, or it can just be a purpose of growing in your own way, whether it's spiritually or just growing in general as a person, how you handle things, how you adapt to a situation that's out of your control and take that and do something powerful with it.
And I think I'm going to say, because I know Alicia so well, is she also teaches me don't be afraid to try new things and don't be afraid to go after dreams or goals or things that you think are going to make a difference for your family. She always puts her family first. Her kids, you can tell listening to her talk, are number one. She puts her husband up there, whatever he needs, she wants to make sure she's helping him with. He has a pretty busy job, so she tries to take care of everything at the house. They've got a wild and crazy pup that I'm surprised didn't barrel through the door yet. And
Kobe or Flu.
she makes sure that the floof is taken care of. She is huge into decorating. She was telling me she's going to put her Christmas tree up already. She always wants to make the house happy and joyful, and she does a great job of that. But in the meantime, when somebody needs their hair done, she'll say, "Okay, come over at midnight. We'll go ahead and take care of that." She decided to go back to nursing school and just try something new. She wanted to do it a long time ago, and then it's always been on her heart, especially like I said earlier, she's been in the hospital with her son so much that she probably knows more than most of the people in her classes. And she just keeps going. She just keeps going. She never stops. So I think that is proof. Now, you don't have to wear as many hats as Alicia. Some of us can't. She's a superhero. I cannot wear the hats that she wears, but it does give me hope. We've used the word hope quite a bit,
Mhm.
that we can try things. We can, you hear me say this, do things messy. Like, let's just go after it. It's on our heart. Let's do it. That's what I try to do with this podcast. Like, I want to have you as a guest. Let's just do it. We've got this window of time. So don't be afraid to go after things and to always try to make an impact on your family, on your life. She said, never stop learning. And that's what she's doing every single day. So I'm so grateful that Alicia gave us this time. I've been wanting to have her on here. I've been wanting to share Nico's story for a while. A lot of my family and friends have heard bits and pieces, but to have it all kind of outlined and to just understand what she and her family have been through and what she has learned is amazing. And the homework for all of the listeners is go listen to that Hallelujah song.
Yeah.
Take a minute to listen to Pentatonics. It's not just a holiday song. It is a very inspirational song. If you're thinking to yourself, gosh, I'm having a rough day. I don't know where I'm going in life. I don't know what I'm going to do, or something terrible happened. Go listen to that song for a minute, because I think Alicia's right. It does. Sometimes words of a song can ground you and just help you get through a rough day. So go listen to that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but thank you so much for being a guest, for squeezing in the time, for sharing Nico's story and your story. And good luck with the rest of the day and with all the things that you've got going. And maybe someday we'll have our listeners meet Nico.
Yes, that'll be entertainment for sure. Nico and Nathan should have a
Yes,
podcast together.
they should.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank
Yes.
you for having me. Thank you for doing this podcast. It is so necessary, especially just in motherhood in general, for being a woman and handling so many things. Every one of us are wearing so many hats, and it looks different for everybody. But I think that you do such a great job bringing on so many different women to share their stories, because they are relatable and they will connect to the right people. And I truly believe that this is a beautiful gift that you are sharing. So thank you for having me. I felt
Thank
honored
you.
to share today. I don't know how I didn't cry, but I almost did, but I didn't.
Yeah, you almost made me cry too. So thank you. And I will say too, we've had a couple men. So this is not just for women, but
Yes, true.
Alicia's right. She is right. We've had a lot of women
Yes,
because
and the men, they are gems on this show.
yeah,
So
they are.
very important for sure.
Yes, yes. Well, thank you. Go on with the rest of your day. Keep doing awesome things. Everybody go listen to Hallelujah, and
Hallelujah.
I will let you go. Thank you. Thank you for joining me for the Show Me the Way podcast. I truly appreciate you tuning in to today's episode about overcoming adversity and finding your path. I hope it brought you new insights, empowered you with perspective, and inspired you to find joy in your journey. If this episode touched your heart, don't forget to leave a quick review, as it will help us reach and motivate more people. Until next time, keep seeking the light and showing the way.